Hello there, dear friends, and welcome once again to the Relaxed Fantasy Review. Today, we're continuing our series on the classes of D&D, digging into the brand new player's handbook and seeing how the most important choice you're making in your character creation has changed. Classes have always been the foundation of the party. Everyone wants to know, who's playing the damage dealer, who's playing the tank, who's playing the utility, the healer, the stealth, the lockpicker. There's a lot of things that are important in a party, and nothing defines this more than your class. Your background and your species are important, of course, but they only really matter in the early levels because they don't really change. But the class is what makes you who you are, defining your magic, your combat abilities, your skills, your saving throws, and scaling over the entirety of the game. Today we're talking about old reliable, the Ranger. The Ranger has been the subject of much malign since D&D 5th edition first came out. They were a trouble child in the 2014 Player's Handbook, getting a lot of love over the last 10 years from the expansion books, from Xanathars giving us powerful subclasses, to Tasha's giving us new features that really fixed the base Ranger, and even Fizzbands giving us a really, really nice subclass to work with. But now we're in the Player's Handbook again, and we're looking at the baseline Ranger, and we're not talking about subclasses or feats or builds, we're just talking about the class. What have they done with the Ranger, and why is the internet so mad about it? We'll get into the details of the class in just a moment, but before we do, I'd like to let you know, Relaxed Fantasy Review has memberships. For just $1 a month, you can support me here on YouTube and get a couple benefits. First, you get a little badge next to your name in the comments, letting folks know that you're a supporter. Also, you get early access to my videos. I upload videos Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I upload them a day early for members only. If that interests you, you can click the join button just down there next to the subscribe button. I'd love to see you in the comments with your member badges. And if it doesn't interest you, that's totally fine too. Just watching the video, liking, subscribing, all that stuff that costs nothing is wonderful for me. It supports my channel, it supports me in the algorithm, it grows the community, and yeah, I'm just really thankful that you're here. Thank you for watching my content here on YouTube. So Rangers, let's get into it. First of all, level 1, they get a bunch of features. First of all, hit dice. Rangers are a D10 hit die. This makes them equal when it comes to their hit points as paladins and fighters. So they're tanky. Like, they are actually people that can work very well on the front line as well as in the back lines, and they really aren't going to go down that easily. It's a very, very good number, second only to the Barbarian, so 9 out of 10 for their hit dice. Now, their saving throw proficiencies, they're proficient in strength and dexterity saves. Strength saves are a little more rare, mostly to do with being pushed around or restrained in some way, but dex saves are common. Lots of magical abilities, lots of traps lean into dexterity, and it is one of the best saving throw proficiencies to have, so I'm giving that 8 out of 10 for strength and 10 out of 10 for dex. Now, Rangers are actually only one of 3 classes in the game to get 3 or more skill proficiencies. It's Rogues, Bards, and Rangers. There was a discussion in the testing phase of this new player's handbook that they were going to create this like expert field that harkens back to like older editions of D&D. They did away with that. But Rangers are not just combatants. They are skill experts. There's a lot in here that's classic. Animal handling, nature, survival, but perception and stealth are both here. And those are 2 of the best skills in the whole game. And you get to choose 3, which is more than most people. I think this is solid. I think that this is 9 out of 10. It's honestly second only to the Bard and Rogue, and those guys don't have D10 hit dice. On top of that, you are proficient in all weapons. There is no need to pick. You can have any weapon you like from the martial or the simple list. This means that, yes, you, of course, can grab a longbow and be the classic bow-shooting ranger, but you can also, dual wield. You can grab a one-handed weapon or a two-handed weapon. Rangers can wield great swords and mauls and pikes just like any other fighter. Like, they are good at this. And I think that it is easy to forget sometimes that with the hit dice and the weapons, Rangers are the same as fighters, and no one complains about fighters. So weapons, 10 out of 10. The only downside is that their armor proficiency isn't quite as good as a fighter. They get light, medium, and shields, no heavy. Now, heavy armor is, of course, a very nice thing to have, but heavy armor grants you an extra point or two in your armor class while giving you a strength requirement. If you aren't strong enough to wear it, it slows you down. Now, Rangers can strap on studded leather, lean heavy into their dexterity, and dump their strength if they want to, but they also can go into strength, wield a big weapon, put on, medium armor, and be only like a point of AC lower than a fighter. That point matters, of course, but I'm saying that this kind of feature means that Rangers are just fine on the front lines. Not in plate armor, so throw half plate on them. Give them a decent dex, and you're not that far off. And if you want to lean sword and board, you can. It works. I think this is 9 out of 10. Heavy armor would be nice, but it's really not that necessary. Now, what sets them apart is their spell casting. Rangers do have spells right from level 1. Now, they are half casters, so they don't get a whole lot of spells. Just a few prepared and a few spell slots to cast them. They do scale up to 5th level spell slots by the end of the game. The Ranger spell list is mostly utility based. There's a lot of control, battlefield control, a little bit of damage boosting, and a little bit of healing in their stuff. So they're largely a utility caster with some combat proficiency. I think their spell casting in general, as a wisdom caster, half caster, they can swap their spells on long rests, so that's not bad at all. I'm going to give them 8 out of 10 for their magic in general. They don't get cantrips, unfortunately, right at level 1. You do get an option for that later, but we'll talk about that when we get there. Now, the other feature that we're going to talk about at level 1 is Favored Enemy. And this is the one that's got most people upset, because Favored Enemy states that you always have the Hunter's Mark spell prepared. Hunter's Mark is one of those spells that deserves talking about. It is a spell, takes a bonus action and your concentration. You cast it on a creature, there's no save involved, you just mark a creature, and then your attacks do an extra d6 of damage to that creature whenever you attack them. So, the classic play is to Hunter's Mark a creature with your bonus action and then just shoot them with your bow. When they die, the spell stays active if you're concentrating on it, and you can move it with another bonus action to another creature. So you're bonus action heavy if you're using Hunter's Mark, and it's utilizing concentration, so you can't concentrate on any other spells that you may have. The damage is a d6, and the d6 is fine at lower levels of play. I mean, if you're using a longbow, it adds about 3 or 4 points of damage to a shot that was already doing like 7 or 8 points of damage. So what? It's a 50%-ish boost to your damage to utilize it. This might, become less insignificant as you go up in levels because you may have ways to boost your damage, but it also works on every attack. It's not just once per turn. And because there's no save, you can throw this on powerful bosses and just go to town. Hunter's Mark is not a bad spell. It's just an expensive spell. Spell slot, concentration, bonus action when you need to move it. The reason people are getting upset is because now it is being treated as a class feature instead of an option. It's always been a spell. It's always been a recommended spell for a ranger. Now it's just always there. You can even cast it a few times per day for free, saving your spell slots for other stuff, and I think that's good. I just, we'll get more into it as we keep going, but I think that this is the start of why the Ranger is being much maligned. I think Favored Enemy is an 8 out of 10 feature. A couple free castings of Hunter's Mark? Yeah, especially at lower levels. I'll take the heck out of that. 8 out of 10. One other thing you get at level 1, and a lot of martials get this, is the weapon mastery features. This lets you choose utility features based on your weapons that really power them up. It closes the martial caster divide. I've done a whole video on that. But yeah, if you're using Vex or Push or Sap or Topple or, you know, any of the features that Rangers could use with their ranged weapons or their lighter weapons if they're dex-based. But you can still use things like Cleave and Graze if you choose the big, massive weapons and you're a strength-based Ranger. Nick is always there for the dual-wielding Ranger. Yeah, weapon masteries are just 10 out of 10. Like, there's no argument about it. Anyone who gets it, it's a nice bump to their class. Now, level 2 comes along, and Rangers get a couple more things. First, they get Deft Explorer. This grants them a couple extra languages, which is, you know, fine for role-playing and stuff. But they also gain expertise. You pick a skill, and you gain expertise in it. This is really, really good. It is a massive buff to any skill that you prioritize. I mean, you can take Perception or Stealth, like I said earlier, but if you really want to lean into Animal Handling or Survival, do that too. This can also be done with one of the skills you got from your background. And yeah, Rangers, in theory, could have a lot of skills. A human Ranger could have a skill, 2 skills from their background, the skilled feat, which would be 5, then a skill from being human, which is 6, and the skilled feat again, which is 9. And then they have 3 skills from being a ranger, so they could have 12 skills from level 1 if they built for it. And then at level 2, they get expertise in one of them. Expertise is strong. It is very, very good. It gives you a high focus in one of your key skills, and I think that, plus a couple languages for ribbon and fun, this is 10 out of 10. It's very good. They also gain a fighting style. Fighting styles just power up your combat. The archery fighting style is the most famous for Rangers, but you also can go dual wielding, 2-weapon fighting rather, defense if you want it. All the options are available to you for whatever you want to build for, and you get a special one, Druidic Warrior. This means that if you want to use cantrips and lean more into your magic than you do into your weapons, you can. You can grab 2 cantrips from the Druid list and add them, and they're Ranger cantrips for you now. Thorn Whip, Starry Wisp, both good. Guidance is great. There's good options here, and I think that having a fighting style in general is 10 out of 10. Druidic Warrior just makes it, you know, a little more versatile and very powerful. Now, we're not going to talk subclasses or feats today, so let's move straight to level 5, Extra Attack. Every martial class wants it. Everyone who has it is thankful to get it. Every time you take the attack action, regardless of the weapon you're using, you get an extra shot, an extra strike, an extra something. So if you're shooting arrows, now you're shooting 2 with an attack action. If you're hitting with a sword, you're hitting twice. It's great. It's a good scaling moment for the Ranger. It works well with Hunter's Mark. And yeah, it's 9 out of 10. Now, at level 6, you get the Roving feature. Roving states that you get a 10-foot boost to your speed, which is really good. I mean, monks get this a little bit earlier, but this means that your average ranger is going to be moving 40 feet per turn, and that's really fast. That's, you know, maneuverability on the battlefield, whether you're using melee or ranged, is amazing. And it grants you a swim speed and a climbing speed equal to your walking speed. So now you've gone from having, at level 5, a 30-foot walking speed, probably, to now having a 40-foot walking, climbing, and swimming speed. There's a caveat in here that you can't be wearing heavy armor to benefit from this, but Rangers don't naturally get heavy armor anyways. So unless you've taken a feat or you've multiclassed, you're just getting a 10-foot boost and enhanced maneuverability in any terrain. That's amazing. Like, climbing speeds are underrated in D&D. It's really nice to be able to just scale a wall or a tree and get out of the reach. I mean, it's not flying, but it's still really good. And swimming, it doesn't come up much, but when it does, you love having it, so you're not moving at half speed in the water. And then just the speed boost. I would give this 10 out of 10 if it was just a 10-foot speed boost, but it's more than that. So it's actually really good. So yeah, 10 out of 10. Level 9 rolls along, and you get more expertise. 2 more, in fact. So now, again, bards and rogues are the skill builds in D&D, but they have 4 expertises. Rangers have 3. And Yeah, Rangers are right there. They are, like, you know, a close third when it comes to skill-based builds, and that's something to be talked about. Expertise is strong. By this level, expertise is granting you an extra, is it 4? Maybe it's 3. 3 or 4 points to a skill that you're already proficient in, and that's big. The archery fighting style I mentioned earlier is one of the most popular. That grants a +2 to attack rolls, but granting yourself an extra +3 or 4, which continues to scale, on your favorite skills is good. Skill challenges are common in D&D, and Rangers are very good at them now. I mean, they've always been decent at them, but they're better now than ever. 10 out of 10. Now, at level 10, we have the Tireless feature. This gives you a couple things. First of all, whenever you are exhausted, exhaustion's a mechanic in D&D which is really debilitating, but it's not super common. Some DMs love to lean into it and make you exhausted during like a chase scene, or, you know, they really like to hand it out if you don't sleep or eat or something like that. Survival games use exhaustion a lot. Tireless says that when you take a short rest, you can lower your exhaustion level by 1. Normally that takes a long rest. So Rangers are less susceptible to exhaustion. I consider that a ridden feature. Like, unless you're playing in a heavy exhaustion game, then it's amazing, but that's really not that common as far as I can see. The other thing you get is a temporary hit point ability. Wisdom modifier times per day, so if you're leaning into your wisdom, you'll get more of those. You can take an action and grant yourself temporary hit points. It's not a whole lot of temporary hit points, but it's just an action, and they last until you've used them up, or you use this feature again, or you get temp HP from somewhere else. Temp HP are good. It tanks you up. You're already D10. You've probably got, you know, a decent armor class, if not a good one. And temp HP is fine. I would use this, you know, every time I, you know, wake up in the morning, and then after every fight, I'd top myself back off again. Temp HP is good. As a class feature, I mean, there are spells that can do that. And I don't know if the Ranger has any temp HP spells, though. So this might actually be better than I'm giving it credit for. Either way, it's not a huge boost. It's a little bit ribbony, but there's enough here to say that I'm going to use this most of the time. That's the trick, is that I'm trying to rate these based on their usability, and I'm going to use Tireless every day, multiple times a day. It doesn't matter. Is it going to make a huge difference? It depends. I'm going to give this 8 out of 10. I think it's worthy of that, considering that there's no cost to you. It doesn't take spell slots. It's an action to do the temp HP. So it's not going to be super useful in combat, but it's more out of combat. I would use it at the end of a fight, or at the beginning of the day, or if we are in danger, you know, top myself off. And the exhaustion thing is either good or not useful at all. So 8 out of 10. Then we get to level 13, and a lot of people are making the claim that the Wizards of the Coast are trying to build around Hunter's Mark because they've been giving more features that are based on it. We're level 13 now. Most campaigns are ending near the end of Tier 3. A lot of games don't make it up to the higher levels of play. Meaning that you could have gone, you got favorite enemy at level 1, some free castings of Hunter's Mark, and then we haven't touched Hunter's Mark since then. It's just been there. You can use it. It's free a few times. It's boosting your damage. You can use other stuff for your concentration if you want, but it's always there. And then it finally, at level 13, gets boosted. Relentless Hunter says that when you cast Hunter's Mark, you cannot lose concentration on it from taking damage. Okay? I mean, okay. Concentration is an important mechanic in D&D. When you take damage, you have to roll a concentration check to make sure that you don't lose the spell you're concentrating on. It's just a stamina check to make sure that you aren't, losing grip on your magic. Not losing concentration on a spell is good. This is a powerful feature, but it's only on one spell, Hunter's Mark. By now, Rangers have 4th level spell slots. They could be casting Summon Beast or Spike Growth. They have a lot of powerful things that take concentration, which it would be really nice. If Relentless Hunter said, that your concentration on your ranger spells could not be broken through damage, and it was just a flat thing like that, this would be 10 out of 10, and it would make the ranger incredibly strong at higher levels. But it's not. It's just Hunter's Mark. Does this mean Wizards of the Coast is trying to force everyone to use Hunter's Mark? No. There's some free uses earlier, and this is the first thing we've seen of it since level 1. So they're not trying to shoehorn people into it all the time, because you've just spent 12 levels of the game, which is probably most of the campaign, on just using it if you want to. Now you get a little bit of a incitement to do it. I'm still not sure I would. I'd be using it if I didn't have a reason to use another concentration spell. You know, which I may or may not, it depends. I think this is good for Hunter's Mark favors. It's just, yeah, 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10. If it was all ranger spells, this would be 10 out of 10 and would be one of my favorite features. And I don't think that would have broken the ranger at all. It just would have made them better. But it's just Hunter's Mark, so 7 out of 10. Then level 14 comes along, and you get the power Nature's Veil. Nature's Veil says that you can take a bonus action to make yourself invisible. This invisibility lasts until the end of your next turn. Now, it doesn't break if you do something. You can still take actions, still attack, still cast spells and such. It doesn't take a spell slot to do this. You can do it Wisdom modifier times per day. So once again, if you're leaning into Wisdom instead of your physical stats, you know, Strength, Dex, or Con, then you're going to be doing a lot better with this. And because it's bonus action, this means that you can, at the beginning of a turn, bonus action, turn yourself invisible. Now you have advantage on all your attacks for that turn. Obviously, this counters anything else you might be doing with your bonus action, Hunter's Mark. But if you're just attacking, now you've got advantage on 2 attacks, at least. And then you're invisible for the rest of the round, so attacks against you have disadvantage. And then on your next turn, you have advantage on anything you do on that turn, because the invisibility ends at the end of the turn. So if you've got a way to weaponize your bonus action, Nature's Veil could potentially give you 5 attacks at advantage, and then give enemies disadvantage against you for the whole turn. Even if you've just got a 16 Wisdom at this point, which is reasonable for a high-level ranger, that's 3 uses of invisibility and potentially 12 to 15 attacks at advantage a day, and 3 rounds of disadvantage for your enemies unless they have blind sight or true sight or something. This is good. I'd say this is better than Relentless Hunter. I think this is 9 out of 10. Obviously, it'd be nice if you could utilize like a spell slot, maybe a 2nd level spell slot to do this again. I'd even take 3rd level. But as it stands, Wisdom modifier times are free. It's good in a pinch. It's good for tactical stuff. It's good for combat for sure. I'm going to say 9 out of 10. Now we're at level 17. The 5th level spell slots are online, and we get Precise Hunter. Precise Hunter is a meaningful boost to Hunter's Mark. We're level 17. Most games don't even make it to this point. And Hunter's Mark has finally gotten a boost that matters. Because the damage of Hunter's Mark doesn't boost. If you upcast it, it actually just increases the duration of it, not the damage. And we can't lose concentration on it by taking damage, but, you know, that's not the only way to lose concentration. Now, Precise Hunter states that whatever enemy you've targeted with Hunter's Mark, you have advantage on all attacks against them. Which you probably already had anyway because of Nature's Veil, because 3 levels earlier you were able to make yourself invisible for a round and a half and get, you know, several attacks at advantage regardless. So, is this good? Yes, it is. It is a concentration mechanic that gives you permanent advantage. There are so many ways to grant advantage in this game, and this is level 17, so permanent advantage is like fine, I guess. It's good. That's the problem, is that permanent advantage is very good. It actually boosts your numbers, and you can save Nature's Veil for things that aren't marked by your Hunter's Mark spell, or for emergency escapes and maneuverability instead of damage dealing. I'm gonna give it 9 out of 10, but I'm doing so a little begrudgingly. I'm trying to look at it in a vacuum. No saving throw, permanent advantage against an enemy. That is powerful in a vacuum, and you can't lose concentration on it from damage. It's just, this should have been a level 10 feature. This should have been something that came in much earlier, and they just waited until the end of the game to give it to you. That's the part I have a problem with. It's too late. Level 18, Feral Senses. Now this is good. This grants you blind sight out to 30 feet. Now you could have taken the blind fighting style and had blind sight out to 10 feet since level 1, if you want, or level 2, I guess, if you wanted to. And blind sense is good. Blind sight means that creatures can't be invisible, you can see through obscurements, as long as it's, you know, like fog and stuff. The dark doesn't bother you, none of that. This just means that you have it out to 30 feet, which is a lot bigger than 10. Like, that is a huge thing. Think about paladins and their aura of protection. It starts at 10 feet, your allies have to be close to you to benefit. When it goes to 30 feet, it covers most of the battlefield. Now you have blind sight covering most of the battlefield. Creatures just can't hide from you anymore. And yeah, that's amazing. This is very worthy of a level 18 feature, and I give it 10 out of 10. Finally, level 20 comes along, and you get a damage boost to Hunter's Mark. Foe Slayer. Foe Slayer means that the creature that is marked by Hunter's Mark, the damage boost you get to the attacks goes up from a d6 to a d10. This is why everyone's mad. Now, the reason why everyone's mad, I think, is a little overcooked, because a d10, instead of a d6, is on average 2 more damage per hit. So this is not appropriate scaling. This is not powerful enough. If you had done a d6 at level 1, 2d6 at like level 8 or 9, and then like 3d6 at level 17, that would be appropriate scaling. That would help them keep pace with like rogues, because rogues have sneak attack. This d6 to d10 is insulting. I'm sorry, D&D designers. It is. That is not enough. Even if you're utilizing bonus action weapons, you have 5th level spells. You can use Swift Quiver, giving you 2 bonus action attacks and 2 regular attacks every single turn, which also takes your bonus action, which you would have to then be careful when you're utilizing Hunter's Mark. It's... you're not getting enough. Even if somehow you get Hunter's Mark and then Swift Quiver, 4 attacks a turn, this is a bump at level 20 of 8 damage per turn. That's not enough. That's not even close to enough. By comparison, the monk and the barbarian have gotten a boost to their main attacking stat, whether it's strength or dex, by 4, which boosts them the same amount as this Foe Slayer does without the need to concentrate on anything. Because that's a +2 to your modifier. So now you've got a +2 to every attack's chance to hit and damage. What's going on? Why did we do this? Like, this doesn't strip anything away from the Ranger. It's just like not giving them a capstone. It's 5 out of 10 from me because it is still a bump, but it's an insulting bump. So, here's what I have to say. Rangers are not bad. They've never been bad. They are fighters that don't get heavy armor, as far as their combat prowess goes. They've got weapon mastery, they've got light, medium, and shields, any weapon you like, a d10 hit die. So if you want to play a fighter that isn't in heavy armor, you can play a ranger and you're 90% of the way there. You get a lot of skills. You are just shy of the rogue and bard when it comes to skill proficiencies and expertise, and that's a powerful thing to have. You've got half casting, mostly control, a little bit of utility and healing and support, and a little bit of damage. You've got a good amount of maneuverability, taking a page out of the monk's book with the roving and the invisibility from Nature's Veil and the blind sight. There's so much here that's good. And people are just losing their minds because there are 3 class features that feel undercooked. Relentless Hunter, no concentration loss. Precise Hunter, advantage, and Foe Slayer a tiny damage bump at level 20. This is why people are saying that Wizards of the Coast is trying to force us into Hunter's Mark. I don't think that's true, because these things come online at level 13, 17, and 20. That is 3/4 of the way through your Ranger's career that Hunter's Mark becomes this, like, class paragon. The first 12 levels, it's not at all. You can do it as you see fit. So, most of the Ranger's life, they're fine. They're good, and their features are useful and powerful. Later on, in the high levels, they've created these 3 features which revolve around Hunter's Mark, which boost you up a little bit. It's not a lot. And that, I think, is what everyone's freaking out about, is that we wanted Hunter's Mark to have something good. If you're going to build around the feature, take concentration away from it at level 13, so we can concentrate on something else. Or take the bonus action away from it, so that you can just automatically do it when you hit a creature, like a smite. Well, like Smite used to be, because now it takes a bonus action to Smite. My point is that you could have stripped away the concentration later on. You could have stripped away the bonus action, making it just when you hit. That would have been fine. Or you could have bumped the damage more. A d6, 2d6, 3d6 as you go up, so that if you're hitting with it multiple times a turn, it's scaling with a rogue's sneak attack level. None of this would have broken the Ranger at all. I mean, if you'd done all of them, it might have made Hunter's Mark the no-brainer choice. Maybe that's what they were trying to avoid. But if you wanted it to be the no-brainer choice, then if you didn't want that, then why did you make it a class feature? I see why everyone's upset. I do. But I think it's distracting from the fact that the Ranger is doing great things. They are the 3rd best skill monkey in the game. They are, like, the 4th best combatant in the game, just behind paladins, fighters, and barbarians. They've got the maneuverability that really is only challenged by monks and maybe rogues. And they've got some survival features that obviously aren't going to come up unless you're in a survival-based game, but temp HP is nothing to scoff at. High-level invisibility is nothing to scoff at. And they're doing good. Rangers are fine. I give Ranger 9 out of 10. It's unfortunate that their high-level features are so half-cooked. So taking a Ranger to level 20 is kind of pointless. I'd go to level 18 and then, you know, maybe I'd have a fighter dip or something before that, or a druid dip so I could have some more spells, or a rogue dip so I could have cunning action and stealth. Like, it just means you're not going to take your Ranger to level 20 basically ever. Which is a shame. I think that's a shame. But, yeah, maybe level 19 so you could have the epic boon. My point is that everyone is losing their minds on Hunter's Mark and just ignoring the fact that the Ranger is still fine. They're still doing everything they're supposed to be doing as Rangers. Part rogue, part druid, part fighter. Now they've got similar, like, a monk-esque speed boost. There's stuff here that's just really, really good, and it's important to remember that. Don't hate the Ranger. They're still good. They're 9 out of 10. I'm giving them 9 out of 10. And the fact that they're half-baked Hunter's Mark features just, it doesn't take away from them. We just wished they'd gotten more. A boost to damage, a concentration redundancy, something. And they didn't, and that's a shame. But, yeah, 9 out of 10. Rangers, you're fine. Don't let the internet freak you out. You're not useless. You're not hated. You're just a little bit undercooked at high levels. So, yeah, 9 out of 10. Rangers, I would still play a Ranger happily. This has been the Relaxed Fantasy Review. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe down below. Have a look for the join button down there, and keep your eyes peeled for more class reviews coming down the line soon. Have a good one, my friend.